So let's talk about ozone therapy a little bit. Been continuing on that for once a week. In fact, the time before last, it looked like I wasn't going to be able to get any more intravenous ozone injections. And let me digress and say that, in my opinion, I've been doing this for a long time. Just the interest in longevity, supreme human being through health, food, making yourself more, bigger, awesome. I started doing this at the earliest age. My whole entrance into vegetarianism, veganism, raw foodism, all that had to do with being superhuman. So I've done a lot of stuff. Was into like lots of supplements when I was like 19. Lots of Western herbs, or just taking as best approach I could get. I took a lot of herbs when I was in my 20s, found a lot of amazing things that make you really high that are not, you don't find them so much in the health food store anymore. Then went into the raw food thing, abandoned all the herbs and stuff, kind of did the fruitarian 80-10-10 thing. Before it was called 80-10-10, this was in the 80s. You know, did that for most of my 30s, and then, you know, contracted AIDS when I was 38, 2001, found out I was HIV positive, and full-blown AIDS at the same time, dying in the hospital more or less. And then I bounced back from that, learning all kinds of things about everything, got into Chinese herbs, met Truth Calkins, got into David Wolf first through Truth, and have done all of this stuff that people are talking about now, all the medicinal mushrooms, Chinese herbs, understanding Chinese herbology. I apprenticed in 2009 with a Western herbalist and a Chinese herbalist acupuncturist and learned a lot. So I've done a lot. This ozone is the top shelf. Just absolutely the top shelf. So first I gotta like address some people that are sitting there thinking like, I just got a good feeling from this and I did it. So I guess a lot of people, is the word allopathic or whatever, I call it collective consciousness, of just where people immediately have a fear and don't trust their intuition. And I want to say, I just was watching a YouTube upload today from Charles T. Rose, and he was talking about Ori Hofmeckler, and that's where I operate with intuition, about knowing who to follow. I don't need case studies, blah 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 blah, whatever, and this is just my thing, but I always operate from intuition. So I got a good vibe from Ori Hofmeckler, and it was interesting for me because I've always intuitively followed the way I should eat, and that always basically said that what I was eating, there was actually a protocol, which is 1 meal a day. I've ate 1 meal a day pretty much all my adult life. So I've done a lot of stuff. The ozone thing is just, it's amazing. For me, I have to say that even if I don't really get on top of the HIV thing with this, because I went back off meds again, and I'm going to see what happens with my next blood test, I think I'll be able to keep the virus down really easy with this. This really gives you a big expansion of connecting back into the Jing energy. And you know it. I mean, the herbs, all the herbs are fucking waste of the Chinese herbs. I'm not saying they're a waste of time, but compared to this, I can only compare it to just like feeling like I've all of a sudden just jumped into myself, 14, 15, 16 years old, but having the wisdom of a 50-year-old. Amazing. So I did get to a point, even though I'm feeling like that, my veins are still 50 years old. So after the time before last, it was looking like I wasn't going to be able to take anymore, because it is hard on your body to like all of a sudden have this. I don't know the sciences of why, but I was told ahead of time. So I'm very focused on trying to keep my body very liquid so I can keep rejuvenating my veins, which is lots of MSM, DMSO internally, putting DMSO on externally with a lotion, taking lots of minerals, Also, with the fact that ozone is breaking down lots of stuff, I'm really starting to detox a lot. So, I've lived a whole life of this, all of this kind of stuff. I've never really detoxed like some of the crazy people out there, like Life Regenerator. There's actually an element of truth now that I'm seeing how much crap is coming out of me, because well, the number one thing is I've lived at, 6,500 feet all my life, so I'm not in pollution like most people are, when I sleep. So, at times I was like, whatever. So I shouldn't have a lot of pollution in me. And I'll just tell you, people, I would start really getting into your zeolites and your bentonite clays and getting that clay from Paul Reimer. I like that. Along with this pine pollen as well, taking that. But the detox, like the ozone is getting stuff coming out of me. I was feeling really high last week. I was actually feeling like kind of like some pretty serious, like deep detox symptoms, like aches in organs and stuff like that specifically, and lots of mucus coming up. And I even had a HIV test, which is based on me being on meds. And he listened to it. I told him I was getting a lot of mucus coming up, but I was detoxing. And so, and I don't trust the medical community. I'm not telling them this time that I'm on HIV. I don't know what, as a magician, I don't know, and that's magic, and with ICK magic like that, like I think that way, and I think that there's definitely these collective consciousnesses that people sort of subscribe to, where they drop themselves in there without even being aware of it, and I think there's bad juju that you get out of there, and so I think you really got to watch it with the medical community, because you jump into a medical community. I really realize this with helping people with stuff, and also listening to the comments that people have to say about the ozone, that I'm going into Mexico. First off, there is a whole medical community in Mexico that is just right off the border, that do lots of things like biological dentistry and all this kind of thing, along with what I'm doing, all kinds of clinics. Hilda Clark went down there because she got shit in America for doing what she was doing with cancer and HIV, and so people have this like, oh, isn't that kind of like, I'm hearing like back alley rusty needles. No, there's a great like just a whole world down there of this stuff, because well, it's not really free in the US when it comes to like being able to say and do what you want to do, because the AMA and the FDA and all the powers that be that stand to keep you sick, they control America. So just outside Mexico, so that's, I'm going to be doing other things. The next thing I'm doing down there is biological dentistry. I'm getting rid of all the, I don't have any fillings, I never got them, but I have a lot of some bridges and stuff. I guess because my parents maybe took LSD or something. I was born without 6 permanent teeth, so I'm going to get all that fixed. On each side I got, apparently because of all these missing teeth. Born without them. So the true test of the ozone for me, even if I fail at HIV, is my creativity. So you're listening to the first 2 tracks on my new album. Coming. I'm in production on it right now. So, the level of creativity, the speed of connecting with that creative force, and that's what my thing's all about. And I think more people should be into it, not because they're an artist, but just understanding or feeding the creativity in the brain more, because that's what we do as humans. The measure of health as what it does on athletes, and that's not important. That's really not important when you consider the fact of the things that people need to be thinking about to like move the human race. They need to be happier, and those it's the wrong thinking. I mean, it's great if you do that. I mean, I've gotten more athletic myself, for sure. So, what else do I want to talk about? So I'm just starting to go into a big creative phase here today. It's gonna get loud. This is a track I've played a little bit one time, a different version. It just had a whole new breakdown in there, which is I'm gonna be playing this stuff pretty much. You know, the last 2 episodes where I didn't play my music was because I was working on sending my other CD out that's actually in physical form. This one. So I'm going to be in creative mode, which means I'm going to be smoking pot. Not smoking. I'm actually, some of the people I'm working with have talked about smoking, not smoking, because I'm actually wanting to, like, I've definitely come to peace with using cannabis for creativity, and that's the only time I really use it. I want to use it as a sacred tool. In fact, I want to give it its credit with that, even if it is fun to, like, get high and maybe go and dance or do something. I actually decided I don't want to do that. I want to use it as a sacrament. And so to me, using it for anything less than that, and in my case, I can't even see that I'd actually be any kind of a stoner if I wasn't an artist, because it really doesn't interest me any other time. So I'm tincturing it and doing maybe some teas and stuff like that with it, and I'm going to start using it internally and only during my creative process. Really into the idea of plants, you know, feeling like I'm the whole vegan omnivore. I'm definitely more of a vegan-y kind of person, but just bad things happen with depletion, and then I kind of ate too much of it, and I'm like, no, I know with my digestion, never had problems with my digestion in my life, so me, it's just like, you gotta find that mix, you know? You gotta find that mix of, like, knowing what you eat and subscribing to dogma and get you fucked up. So, the ozone has changed my whole operation. Like, one thing I'm thinking that I want to do is stop taking all herbs for a long time. And right now, actually, another experiment I'm doing is I'm only going to eat fermented veggies. Okay, mostly. That's going to be the bulk of my diet. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with, I might eat a few raw eggs and some kefir, milk kefir, but and then I'm going to put a sauce. I have these big giant, this is a good find for you too, these jars from Crate and Barrel. They're 1.5 liters, and you don't have to deal with the whole cap on the mason jar thing. I'm high as fuck on ozone. It definitely should come across that I'm like, seeming like I'm on drugs or something. But these things, especially when you ferment, the pressure from the fermentation, if you forget to, like, open them, it'll bust the tops and bend them and whatever, and then they die anyways. So I'm making an investment in all these big 1.5 liter ones, these big bastards. So I've been drinking ozonated water, and I bought this ozone machine too from the people that are giving me this treatment. So I'm ozonating water, and you can just kind of let it run in a room where you're at or something like that. So I'm having a good 2012. I'm like kind of arriving at some of my New Year's resolutions now, because a lot has happened, you know. Definitely ready to set my goals. You know, when I say a lot has happened, the energy's moving fast because of the, you know, the winter solstice. So December 21st. Definitely made a shift. Of course, the people that are not on program, it's going to work the opposite on them. They're going to kind of go crazy. So don't think that everything's just going to be fixed because of the whole shift in energy. Because anybody that's not on the rail, not on the thinking program of getting more of a feminine nature, loving nature, especially the whole redneck cowboy aspect of America, that's like one of the worst things in the world right now. So my time's up, and I will talk to you later.